what kinds of things make sense for you guys to do from a marketing perspective?
Correct.
And then perhaps we can help you with some of those. Perhaps we need to push you in a different direction for other things. So, given that you are a canvassing company, here's what that tells me. You're canvassing and buying leads. Here's what that tells me. Your entire business model is based off hunting right now, not on
Yes.
farming. That's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It's just an observation. But normally, people that come from a hardcore uh, hunting background have very, very little patience for things that take longer to boil up in the pot. For instance, SEO. SEO takes SEO is the ultimate farming game because it takes time for it to work. You have to continue to put troops into battle, and troops are pages that are geo keyword optimized for specific geo keyword pairs. You have to keep doing it in all the areas you want to be, and it takes time for it to build into a significant lead flow. But once it's in place and these pages are working, it just continues to flow leads without quote unquote any additional effort. That's not 100% true, but it's 95% true. So there's definitely a delay. You got to plant those crops and you got to wait for them to get ready
Yeah.
to harvest. So realistically, when you've got companies that are in the $5 million range, certainly by the time you get to $10 million, you're going to want to do that because the leads that are definitely there and available on Google and other search engines, including AI platforms like ChatGPT, they're going to somebody. They're just not going to you.
Right.
So you just got to decide, when do we want to get serious about going after that particular set of leads? Like if you came to me and said, "Hey, we want to get serious about buying leads," I'd say, "Great. You need to have a great call center. You need to have all the right tech stack because you definitely have to gear up for it. You can't just, start buying leads. That's how people fail." And I'm not telling you anything you don't know right now because you've already been through this learning curve. Um, with SEO, it's you just same thing. You've got to be ready and understand what's involved. And again, my experience is that while SEO is probably the right thing for a $5 million company to do, it's not always easy for a $5 million company that's coming from canvassing and lead buying. Uh, Case in point, our biggest client right now in terms of annual revenue, they did $109 million last year. They built their company on canvassing. And then they added, guess what? Buying leads. So they're just a
Yeah.
bigger, further down the road version of you guys. And when they hit $100 million is when they finally looked up and went, "Oh, we probably should do SEO." We're like, "Great. It's going to take time. It's going to, in their case, it's a very large investment because they're in four major metropolitan areas and you've got to optimize for all the little towns and cities within each of those. So it's a big undertaking. It's expensive. It's costing a lot of money. It's taking a long time, but they can afford it and it's the right thing to do. In your case, it is the right thing to do, but maybe just depends on, again, your appetite for farming. Okay.
Right.
Just trying to be super clear with you and transparent so you understand that. Now, let's talk about things that are quicker. So the things that are obvious to me is going to be pay-per-click advertising, Facebook advertising, and OTT, connected television. Those are the three that you need to be looking at now.
Yeah.
Okay, so you never mentioned pay-per-click earlier when we were talking. Is that because you just forgot to, or you're just not doing it?
We aren't doing it.
Have you tried and failed? You just haven't even approached it before?
We haven't. So before the transition of everything in the rebrand, Florida itself was averaging about 12 million a year. And they were doing that just off of canvassing. So we have like this background experience, but then we basically had to completely start all over again. So it came back in with canvassing. We got canvassing back where it needed to be, got other streams of revenue up and going in other markets. And then Now the telemarketing, exactly what you just described, is exactly what had to happen. So we had to build a call center, and then we had to have the right tracking, we had to have the right scripting. And then now we're kind of in a good position with that. And so now it's going into the next realm of like, we know that we're having our website completely redone because it just wasn't good enough. And so that's going to be completed within the next week. And then we've opened the Google reviews up. We're pushing the Better Business Bureau. But then outside of that, no, we haven't done any type of digital marketing or anything at all. I have lots of
Who,
ideas for it, but we
who built
haven't
your
done any.
website?
We had a company here, a local company here build it.
Okay.
Initially, my business partner in Illinois did, and it looked okay, but it looked like the person who's building our website said it looked like as if I said, "Hey, ChatGPT, build me a roofing company website," and it was just too standard. So
Yeah.
we just completely revamped that. We're trying to hit the right things. He does have some knowledge about SEO as far as like, what type of level of experience, I don't know. He's done some bigger websites. I like the websites he's made. So it's definitely better than what we have presently. So that was kind of the next rung
Yeah.
in
I
there.
mean, I'll just give you a 2 minute or less education on SEO. If you build a new website, you're going to launch that with usually anywhere from 20 to 40, what I call core pages. These are the pages that are on the main navigation drop down, the service pages, about us, galleries, things like that. Uh, a typical 20 or 40 core page website is essentially going to get no traction whatsoever on SEO. It's just not going to. It can't because that's not the website's job. The website's job is to convert people that come to the website. To get traction from organic, you've got to create pages that are specifically optimized for geo keyword pairs. A geo keyword pair is the name of a town and a service that you offer. So it might be let's see, you're in Chicago. So Northbrook is one. I don't know all the towns there, but I can think of that one off
We're
the top of my
Southern Illinois down here. We're in farmland. It's us and
Give
Chuck
me,
and
give me the
Chuck.
name of a town.
Marion, Marion.
Marion. Okay, so it might be Marion Roofing, and then that's a geo keyword pair, and then another one would be Marion um, Siding, and another one would be Marion Windows, etc. And then you've got to create, first of all, service area pages for each of those geo keyword pairs. And then you've got to create blog pages that are based on longer tail keywords for each of those geo keyword pairs. And so what happens is when people are searching, those are typically the pages that are going to come up in search because they're a more precise match for what that person was searching for. The geo is hyper, very extremely important in local search. And so if you've got pages on your main website, the core pages, they're typically
Yeah.
going to be optimized for a broad area. Like in Southern Illinois, what is the general area that you serve called?
Literally Southern Illinois. So it's
Okay,
literally
Southern
called the
Illinois.
Southern Illinois region. Yeah.
Right. So you might create pages that are like, hey, window siding and roofing for, the Southern Illinois area or for the Ocala, Florida area, for the Dallas Fort Worth area, for the whatever area it is. By definition, you have to broadly optimize those pages because you want Google to know that they're relevant for that entire area, but then you've got to start creating those pages. So, the way that the reason I'm going into this detail is because the way that you phrased it earlier was not technically correct in terms of SEO. When you said, yeah, the guy's got some experience in SEO, the site looks better. Basically, what you're telling me is you're building a nicer, better looking, more thorough version of your old site that doesn't look like ChatGPT built it. Great. And unless you've got a hyper specific strategy for adding these kinds of pages, it's not going to drive traffic organically. Now, like I said earlier, that's not a judgment of good or bad or right or wrong. It's an observation of what your strategy is. Because to add those pages costs time and money and effort, and there's always an opportunity cost for everything that you do. So if you want to go lean into SEO, that's something we can help you do, but it's going to be at the expense. Those dollars that you're spending on SEO are now not being spent on something else.
Correct.
So, just trying to help you have proper expectations. It's very common when people launch a brand new website and they get very excited, like, oh, now we've got this great website. We used to have this crappy one over here. Now we've got this new one. It's awesome. And now Google's going to love it. And Google's like, I am actually not loving it from an organic standpoint because if a guy is in Marion searching for roofing, you don't have a page optimized for that, then it's just not a good fit.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to just bookmark that. If you ever want to talk to me about SEO, I'm happy to have that conversation. I perceive that it's probably not the next best thing for you at the moment, though.
Okay.
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 Also, I'm going to recommend, look, I don't know anything about the local company that built that site, but I've got 90% confidence that they're not going to be the right company to do your SEO because if they were, they would have already told you everything I just told you, and you would have already at least heard it.
Accurate. That would be my assumption as well.
Okay, moving along. Pay-per-click, Facebook, and OTT. Let's talk about pay-per-click first. It's kind of the cheat code for search because you're intercepting search by paying Google to put your ad up there. I assume you know what pay-per-click is. Most people do.
That's the paying to be at the top, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be a text ad that's going to say sponsored next to it.
Okay.
So this is a good way to get coverage. Here's the problem with it, and here's the opportunity with it. The problem with it is that it's very, very competitive. It's not like all of your competitors, literally all of them, at some point haven't said, "Hey, what if we just paid Google to put us up there at the top of search?" Everybody knows it, and so it becomes very competitive because it's based on a bidding process. And in some markets, for some keywords, it gets bid up so high that it's not profitable for people. You can get leads, but they're going to cost a lot of money. That's about 30% of the time, Allison, probably about 30% of the time. 70% of the time, we can make it work. So again, just being very realistic with you, setting proper expectations. I would say it's definitely worth trying. However, you need to understand two things. Number one, it's about a 60 to 90 day optimization period. So you start running ads, and at first you start getting what I'll just call trash leads because we've got to optimize the campaign and it takes about 30 days. So the first 30 days, you're going to get a lot of noise. You'll get some leads in there. Don't get me wrong. It's not like you get no leads, but you're going to get some leads. You'll also get some not so good leads, and you'll see the cost per lead be multiple hundreds of dollars per lead. And you're going to look at it and go, that sucks. I don't really like that. Then as we continue to optimize that month two, that's going to come down into probably the $200-300 range per lead. And then into the third month and the fourth month, what we're trying to do is get it down into the sub 200, sub 150, sub 100 range. Now, two things. You've got to make sure we don't have any way of knowing how good those leads are other than you reporting it to us.
Right.
Okay. So if 50 leads come in, everybody can get excited and go, wow, we got 50 leads. Amazing. If you come back and say, yeah, we couldn't set any of them, or we set very few of them, or we ran the leads, but they were all broke, or whatever is the case. I'm not suggesting that will happen. I'm suggesting that we have to get feedback from you. So there's got to be a very close reporting feedback loop for us. But within 90 days, you and I will both know if pay-per-click is going to be a good, uh, reliable lead source for you. Reliable meaning you're getting a good quantity of leads at a good cost per lead, and they're good quality.
Okay.
Okay. But if you sit here and have the same conversation with somebody else selling pay-per-click service and they try to tell you, oh, it's going to work and it's guaranteed, they're lying. They don't know that.
Right.
If that were true, then everybody would just be automatically rich all
Doing
the
that.
time.
Right. That's just what you would do. I think
Yeah.
it
So
would work very well in my Illinois market. I think we would get drowned out in Florida quickly because we're in Orlando with 10,000 other roofers.
that may be true, and it also may not be true because everything's proportionate, right? So there's more
Mhm.
competitors, but it's also a bigger market.
Correct. That makes
So
sense.
what we want to do is let's say that you start with a budget of $5,000 a month. There's nothing magic about that number I just gave you. It's a reasonable budget to start with. You could start a little bit smaller. There is such a thing in pay-per-click as too small of a budget where you kind of get pushed aside by Google and your ads don't show up enough. But let's say you start with a $5,000 a month budget. What we're going to do is take that budget and say, okay, Orlando or Southern Illinois, we're going to see how much coverage we can get with that budget, and we're going to narrow the geographic area uh, if it's not enough money. So, in other words, there might be $100,000 a month of spend available in Orlando for roofing, windows, and siding. And of course, you're going to look at that and go, yeah, we would rather not
Yeah.
buy a
And
small house
yeah.
with this budget. So we go, great, let's do 5,000. Which of the three services do you want to start with? And you can pick the one that's most profitable or easy, whatever criteria you use to choose the one you like the most. And then we're going to look at that and say, okay, here's all of Orlando. We've only got enough money. Let's hit this particular part. And then we more laser focus the budget in on those areas.
Okay.
Okay. So whatever budget you have, as long as it's, let's call it a $3,000 to $5,000 a month starting budget, we can work with it because we can shrink the audience to fit the budget. What we don't want to do is cast it super wide. Hey, let's go after windows, siding, and roofing all over all of Florida. Then we don't get enough coverage, and it creates problems in the Google environment. So that's how that would work. That's something we can help you do. We charge $1,500 to get it all set up. That includes building a landing page, uh, writing the ads, optimizing the campaign, and then we charge $1,500 a month or 15% of the spend, whichever is greater. And simple algebra would suggest that when the budget goes over 10,000 is when the 15% kicks in. And there are some limiters as you get into a super high budgets. It's uh, we just we don't have a ton of clients that are spending 30, $40,000 a month on pay per
Right.
click. So, but if you get into that range, we do it's like your taxes. Like the upper level spends have a smaller percentage that kicks in on those upper percentages. But that's how that works. Pay per click. It takes us about 2 weeks or so to get that up and running. Your management fee doesn't kick in until it goes live. So you pay the $1,500 setup fee, and then a couple weeks go by where we're getting everything set up, and then it goes live, and then that's when your management fee starts, and then the spend uh, is charged directly to your credit card.
Okay.
So we're managing that. So you're telling us how much you want to spend, but we're actually, pulling the levers and pushing the buttons inside the Google ad platform.
That makes sense.
And then, of course, we're keeping an eye on it. We're looking for trends. We're looking for things that are working. We're testing multiple ads, etc.
Okay.
So that's an obvious next thing to get started with. The other two
Like I
things,
just you start like pay per click and then go to the OTT and then go to the Facebook ads, or you just kind of blend them all together.
it's really up to you. Here's
I
what
will
I'm
say
being.
we tend to do too much too fast, just as a unit. We're like, we like it, let's go. So we have entrepreneur ADHD like most entrepreneurs do. So like we were like, that's great, let's go. And so then we end up taking too much on.
Yeah, from a bandwidth standpoint for your team, it's not really a problem. It's really what I would call kind of a mental comfortability. Okay, so how long have you been in business? 2 years since you did the rebrand? I know you were in
Two
business.
years, yeah, two
But
years as this, 100%.
yeah, so you're 2 years, and in those 2 years, you've built them to $5 million each. You've taken them from canvassing to buying some leads. Now you're going call center. I mean, look, I would love to say to you, just give us a bunch of money and we'll do a bunch of cool stuff. And, we'll keep you informed, obviously, but just don't worry about it. We'll make it happen. Hopefully, here's what you're hearing me say. Uh, I want to be super clear about what the things are, when is the appropriate time to do them, what the risks are, what the likelihood of success
Right.
is. When you look at Facebook and OTT, they're actually very similar things because we're taking a video-based ad. You've read at least part of my book. Have you read the part about
Right.
identity?
Yes, I'm in the second portion of it about halfway through. So getting into it, yes.
Yeah, so the
And
identity
really,
part,
most of the beginning we do. So I felt pretty good reading that. So I was like, okay, we've got this, we've got this. Like I know it's like hitting the 10 million, we've hit 10 million, but like we have to start, it's starting all over again. So we're having to crawl before we walk, but it's knowing what it can be is frustrating to go slow. But we have to go slow to go fast. So that's kind of where we're at. But no, we hit it very, very hard on identity and culture this time around. And that's where we're seeing that we've been able to grow extraordinarily quickly. And we've been able to grow
So
quickly while not getting complaints, while not getting issues, while having the best subs, while not having to go back out, right? So it's like
you
it's
mean
been different
you
this
actually
time.
grew and didn't piss everybody off in the process?
Literally. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we've all been there. We've all been
Yeah.
there. It's a thing. Okay. Let's do this for just a minute, if it's okay. And by the way, we're about 30 minutes in. What's your time? How's your time looking?
I can do anything.
Okay, so I've got a half hour, so I'll try to keep it within that frame. Let's do this for just a minute. Let's talk about your identity because this is going to be a contributing factor to what you should do next. And let me be super specific. If we can find things within your identity that you're already doing that I feel like we can use to tell interesting stories, then, I'm going to be more likely to push you faster into video-based marketing, whether it be Facebook or OTT, probably starting with Facebook. What is going on here? Somebody is doing something that's making my computer make a weird noise. Anyway, so let's talk about your identity a little bit. So you've read the book, you understand the concept, communicate with power, precision, and passion, who you are, how you're different, why you're better, what
Yes.
people can expect when they do business with you. Um, you were at my Tony Hody event, so I did talk about identity there also. I talked about, by way of refresher, the video game cabinets, the
Yes.
172 hardwood dowel rods.
Dual steel strips. Yes. I got
Yeah,
that.
so here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for your 172 hardwood dowel rod. So help me out with that. Did you actually, it's not in the book because I wrote the book before I came up with the 5 pillars. Did you take a photo of the 5 pillars of identity? If not, I'll put it on my screen.
I don't have it on me. I didn't bring my phone in. But no, I've thought about the dowel rods probably about no less than 10,000 times since then. We had a massive E4 tornado go through our town and just devastate an entire community. And the only house that was still standing with not one shingle missing was ours that we did 8 months before. So dual seal strips. We do dual seal strips and
Did
explicitly, we
you
don't know
get
why.
did you get photos of that?
Yes,
Did you get drone
yes.
footage of that?
I want to go back and get drone footage. Yes, that's the issue at the time. We were cutting trees. So we spent quite a few hours, quite a few days out there cutting trees, but
Can I
that was getting
assume that this is the big St. Louis tornado that everybody heard about nationally?
same day. Yes. So that one, it hit St. Louis and then it came in and it took out about 25, 30 houses out here in a neighborhood. So literally the
Okay.
only house standing is ours with not one shingle missing. His
And
windows blew out of his house, but his shingles were still
okay, so this has
intact.
been roughly a month ago, right?
Yes.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe roughly a month anyway. So, given that a month has elapsed, if you got drone footage of that in the near future, would it still be as dramatic? Are the other roofs still all jacked up, or they already been repaired, or
I
what?
think I could still splice it in between the video that I have from being on ground when we were doing cleanup and all the photos that I have from being on ground doing cleanup. Like we have so much footage of
And
that I think I could splice it together with it. And yeah, the houses are gone around him still.
and why was it that your roof didn't get affected? Is it a metal roof, or was it just installed better, or what was it?
Dual seal strips. So it's what exactly was your ad like? We use 176 dowel rods and explicitly. What word was it that was next?
Inexplicably,
I can't say
inexplicitly.
inexplicitly. Our competitors use none, right? Like we
Tell
use
me what
dual
it's
seal
called
strips.
again. A dual what?
Dual seal strips. We only use Atlas products. And so our shingles are bigger than the other shingles. Our shingles, a normal shingle has one seal strip, ours has two. So it's sealing to the foundation with two strips, which one strip gets pulled up by wind, right? Additionally, we utilize 6 nails per shingle because it's a larger shingle. Our competitors use 4. So like, That's like when you were talking about that's like all that kept going through my head. Dual seal strips. We pay so much more money for these quality products, and we tell nobody about it.
How
So
much
like
more do you
that's
pay for them?
I don't know offhand, but like it's we go through a lot to get these because they don't sell them in our market. So we have to have them shipped in. But it's also a differentiator with us with our sales process that it keeps us from the bidding wars because it's not the same product. So around
Okay.
you have a couple players out here that use the same stuff.
So in a sales environment, you're telling the story, but in a marketing environment, you're not. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. It's part of our pitch that we use the dual seal strips, that we do 6 nails per shingle and what that means. And but we've never marketed it.
Okay. Um, this is why I said, hey, let's talk about identity for a minute. Let's see if there's
Yeah.
anything interesting. By the way, that's very interesting
Yeah.
because this, okay, a couple of things. I'm trying to be super politically correct right now, but I'm going to probably not do a great job. The fact that you are a woman in a roofing business that
It's a
isn't just
differentiating.
involved, but also is completely in control and confident, I think is really, really interesting. I think it's interesting.
So
Okay, that's point one. Point two,
yeah.
now we've got this dual seal strip, six nails, larger shingle, which also is very interesting. And I think if we combine those two things, by the way, that's one idea. The fact that you're a female, I think will track well with lots of different concepts besides just the dual strip thing.
Mhm.
But uh, my gosh, yes, yes, please.
It's we've talked about it and the way that I try to phrase it, which I hope is nice, is I'm a feminine female in a predominantly male industry. And so I tell my young guys, I'm like, hey guys, when you start talking, people are going to assume you don't know what you're talking about. You're just this young kid. And when you start talking, you can use that as a differentiating factor. And I kind of do the same thing. Being a feminine female, people expect that I'm not going to know anything. I'm actually the one that holds the licenses. So
Yeah.
it's like I'm licensed in multiple states. I understand the construction aspect of it. So even just talking a little bit, people listen and assume I'm an expert just based off of that. So like I use what would be something that would keep me from sales to actually push more sales.
Yeah, well, and I think it's very attractive from the female consumer standpoint. They're going to see this
Right.
female and go, "Okay, that's awesome." And I think dudes are going to look at it and go, "Hell yeah, woman knows what she's talking about."
Part of it as well is that I can't speak into the Florida industry. I live here. I'm sure it's obviously different in Florida, but here we've got all these guys that they're marketing as like screaming eagles and American flags and stuff like that, and they're not veteran owned, but my business is, and I'm the veteran. So it's like that's another aspect too that we're a veteran owned company, and I am the veteran. So
You don't have like a prosthetic leg or anything, do you?
I do not, thank God.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so
That would really
yeah,
sell them.
I think to take this message to video sooner rather than later is smart. I mean, it's very interesting. I think we could get you on video, telling some of these stories, doing some demonstrations, and it could be very worthwhile. Not to mention, these could go on your website. These could be things that you send out.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it this way. So let's take dual strip because this is clearly one of the more major things. So we would want to shoot this video wise in a very specific way so that a normal person who knows nothing about roofs at all can understand it. Okay. And that's not easy to do. It's easy to make it overly technical and too nerdy so people are like, okay, what I don't get it. That's our job though, is to script that properly. So put that together. Now I just want you to think through all of the different things that you can do with this. And by the way, showing the house that did not get blown down, which is really cool. Like what sorry, all the people whose houses blew down. I know that's a terrible
Right.
tragedy, but we're going to take advantage of it because we did build a house with better, bricks
Right.
than the other pigs. That's a story, not calling them pigs. But now,
I understand.
let me get to my point though. Here's you thinking through it. Okay, so we're going to create that video. Also, create blog posts that we put on your website that talk about the importance of dual strip, six nails bigger. We talk about all that. Now, here's what happens when people call in to set an appointment or your canvassers are out talking. Let's just talk about the appointment gets set. So you get an appointment set, and now you send out a text message ahead of the appointment that says, "Hey, just want to make sure you understand the following." We would say this in a way that's interesting and engaging, but we're sending this out via text message. They click on it. There's a video. They can watch it. There's a written version on the blog. They can read it, and we want to just hit them with these messages over and over and over again.
Right.
Uh, you talk about being a veteran owned, woman owned business. And I think that's very interesting and relevant also. So let's say what's today? Wednesday. It's 4:40 there, I think. So you set an appointment right now for Friday at 5 o'clock. So it's 2 days. During those 2 days, I'd recommend sending probably three minimum, probably four text messages and emails also. But we know a lot of emails aren't going to go through. People aren't going to see them. They're going to delete them. Text messages people see. And the first message comes out that says, crucial things you need to know about the quality of the roof you're about to buy. And then it talks about this dual strips, right? Or maybe it says how this is the only house that withstood a F5 tornado. It matters how you install, right? That's the header of
Yeah.
the blog post. Okay. And then there's the video. And then a couple hours later, you might not care that a woman-owned veteran owns this roofing company, but you should. And then again, another blog post, another video that talks about that. And then the next day, we send another one out that talks about something else that we haven't discovered on this call right now, because this call is a preliminary discussion, not meant
Right.
to flesh everything out. But the idea here is, let's say that maybe it has something to do with sales pressure. Okay. You're not going to apply sales pressure. Hey, I just want you to know that when we show up, there's no arm twisting, there's no hoops to jump through. It's a straightforward. We're going to give you a price. It's good for
Yeah.
a year, whatever, right? So all these kinds of things, by the time your salesperson shows up, they're already very favorably predisposed. Number one, predisposed to do business with you, but also you've done a fair amount of price conditioning without having to ever talk about price.
Yeah.
Because when you show up and they already know that you've got this dual seal strip. By the way, the coolest part of that dual seal strip, besides the fact that the house didn't fall down or get blown away in the tornado, I don't know if you realize how cool this little teeny element of that story is. Oh, they don't sell this around here. We have to special order this in from out of state. We're
Right.
literally the only people that has this because nobody else does. And oh, by the way, we'll figure this out down to the penny because it's not over 100 hardwood dowel rods. It's 172. So here's what I want to know. On an average size roof, which is how many squares is an average roof in that market?
It really
So
just
don't
depends.
overthink it.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know. We're doing, I'd say 30. We'll say we're doing 30. We'll say we're
Okay,
doing
30
30.
squares. Great. So a 30 square roof, how many dual seal strips does that require? How many cases? How many boxes?
That's it.
And then I want to show the boxes, right? Here's the boxes. Here we are unloading them off this semi truck because they just came from freaking somewhere else that's not here. Trust me, these other guys, they can't even get them.
So how many, that's so brilliant.
And then
Okay.
then I want to know.
How
So
many
I'm just
additional
gonna
strips do you have on your house when you use our product? And that's going to
I'm
be
gonna make numbers up
thousands.
here. I know that these numbers are wrong. Don't worry about it because I just want you to hear how the flow goes. So let's say per square you need 10 dual seal strips. It could be 100 or it could be five. I don't know. Let's just say it's 10. And let's say that each dual seal strip costs how much roughly? Best guess. Best guess.
A dollar. We'll say a dollar.
A
It's
dollar.
definitely
Great.
less than that. We'll just say a
Okay,
dollar.
so there's 10 per square. The average house is 30 squares. They're a dollar each, so that's 300 of these, right? So it's $300. Except for you know how marketing works, right? It's not 300,
Right.
it's 285, right?
Exactly.
And then we come in
Exactly.
there and go, look, it's 285. It's $285 more to do this. And also it takes a little bit more labor. We're going to pay on average about $120 extra in labor to apply these because it takes time to put them on there. So you've got about $410 extra. Tell me which roof you want, this one or this one, and it's a freaking tornado zone.
Right.
Is it worth four? Now, see, they don't know that there's markup, $410. Maybe we just give the marked up price. It doesn't matter. We'll figure all those details out. But we're telling the story. This roof here costs $410 or $880 more than this roof here. Which one do you want? Let me tell you what's going on here. It's called a dual seal strip. Let me show you what this is. It's essentially like a piece of tape. And here's what it does. Instead of just on one end, it seals it down here. So when wind comes in, it can't blow it up. It can't become dislodged. It's a complete sealed system. These things cost money. The average roof takes 280 of these. Bigger roofs more, smaller roofs less. Obviously, they cost about $1 a piece.
Blowing up. It's the
See,
second
it's
half that we did it.
172 hardwood dowel rods.
So smart. You know what I didn't tell you that might blow your mind a little bit is you're saying these things retail. We're just now getting into retail. We have done all insurance restoration. So we are just now transitioning with keeping insurance restoration 33% of the market and retail is 66%. Like we are just now getting into that 66% of the market. So all the money we've made has been off of selling insurance restoration. So like this is like going in, starting out on the right foot. That's like exactly to the number how many extra strips we're giving you than somebody else. Like, and that's a difference maker to the number. I will have that number.
Yeah, so here's another way to think about it. I'm just thinking of alternate ways to talk about this. So you've got this 30 square roof. That home is worth, for the typical home you're trying to go after, let's say what, $300,000. It probably Southern Illinois is relatively inexpensive homes average. I'm guessing, I don't know for sure.
300,000 is way too much. Yeah. So like
Yeah,
as far as like the price of the house in Southern Illinois, a good average here is about 200. So like,
great,
between,
200.
yeah, that's a family home, average income.
And how much does that home cost to insure every year?
Ooh, probably quite a bit, couple thousand for sure.
Okay, two, let's say it's 2,000, so it's roughly 1% of the value of the home, something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
All right. And so look, there's always going to be some monkeying with the numbers. And here's the number that we want to monkey with. We want to make this dual seal strip seem to be inexpensive. Okay. So using the numbers we had, $285 for the strips, another $120 for the installation. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build a case that yes, it costs more, but it's a nominal amount more. But here's the difference. Your house is freaking destroyed or it's not freaking destroyed. Choose one. Which do you like better? Hey, you're spending $2,000 a year on insurance. It's 1% of your
Mm,
house. When you put the roof on, if you spend one, this extra 500 or less dollars, look, I'm not guaranteeing you that the F5 tornado is not going to destroy your house. Who knows how tornadoes work? But I'm telling you this is the actual footage. And
yeah.
here's why, because it's a freaking dual seal strip. It's 6 nails. It's a bigger thing. We have to ship these in. And people look at that and they go, my gosh. So now you go out there and you bid this on a retail and your price comes in higher by a little bit. I mean, I don't know. What are your prices like compared to your competitors on retail?
I feel like we are we've done what you're not supposed to do, right? So like in Illinois, we haven't really rolled it out. In Florida, we've done retail based off of cost, right? Because that's kind of the position that we're in. So we wanted to come in, not the cheapest, not the most expensive. But then I've read the book, right? So you have to charge more. You have to sell more. Number four, right? Like,
Yeah, raise the price, sell it for more. But the idea here is our product costs more, but it's nominally more. But
right.
the disproportionate amount of good you're getting out of this
That you
nominal
get.
extra cost is enormous.
I like that.
You know, you can build, it's pretty rare that you can build a case that's strong in this regard because usually
Yeah.
It's not
Everybody's using the
true.
same thing.
But like I'll give you an example. You can build a similar case for an electric car. Whatever you think about electric cars politically is irrelevant because you can build a really strong case that between fuel costs and maintenance, because there's virtually no maintenance on electric cars because they don't have a freaking engine. They have motors and they don't wear out. So
Yeah,
you can build a case that like, hey, for the same amount of money that you're going to pay for a regular car, this one is way, way, way more efficient for you. It's going to cost you way less to own. And people look at that. That's why Tesla Model 3 is the highest selling car in the world because
right.
that makes sense. And we're trying to do the same thing with this. It's like, hey, 500 extra bucks. No, nobody knows how much a roof costs. What's a roof cost?
No, nobody knows.
I got my roof replaced last year because of a storm. The insurance adjuster came in and they're like, "Oh, it's $44,000," and I was like, "Okay, I don't
Sure.
know how much
Yeah.
roofs are."
Nobody knows how much they are. They just know that they're expensive.
But then, see, this is why it's so cool because then you say, "Yeah, and by the way, this will last way, way longer, legit, for
Yes,
real. Here's the proof." And people look at it and go, "Yeah, that's a no-brainer. I'll pay $1,000 more for that, no problem."
that makes sense. That's what
Oh,
makes
by the
us the
way, from the
difference.
woman-owned, veteran-owned company. And look, we've only talked about two things. We could dig farther and farther into this and come up with more stuff.